Welcome to the world's first straight talk Solarcast. This is your go-to podcast for answers about solar. Brought to you by Solar Harmonics in Northern California, who invite their customers to own their energy by purchasing a solar panel system for their home, business, or farm. Each episode, we discuss questions facing people making the decision to go solar. The solutions to your questions are given to you straight by one of the leading experts in the solar industry, Jamie Duran, president of Solar Harmonics. Feel free to search our library for answers to questions that you're facing when considering solar. And now, here's Adam Duran, our host with the questions, and Jamie Duran, our solar expert with Straight Talk Solarcast.
Hello, Jamie.
Hello, Adam.
How's everything in the land of solar this week?
More upheaval, more and more of, what we've been talking about. This week, one of the biggest solar installers, and they did their own leasing and their own PPAs and their own,
Wow.
kind of a company that tried to do it all. And now they are, they're going bankrupt. And it's basically their model was, they hire a bunch of solar sales guys, and those guys would hammer people and, hammer them phone, email, text, everything, door knocking, everything. And then they would, the sales guys would be due money. And a lot of times they weren't getting paid, and the payments were getting slower and slower. And then they started not paying the installers.
Wow.
Which is kind of a big thing. Real big thing for the customer, and I'll get to that in a second. But Sunnova Energy is it's going to be really similar to the SunPower bankruptcy, where there's lots of people who, they were taking deposits up until I think this week. And when I mean deposits, so people could sign up for a prepaid lease. So imagine, 20 years that they're saying, okay, if it's going to be $30,000 to install, you could do a prepaid lease, let's just say for $24,000, and you pay us all up front. And then you own this. Well, you don't own it, but you lease this solar, but all the payments are prepaid. So I know it's a little confusing, but basically, the idea is that you're saving money, apparently. And that in theory could make sense, except, at the end of 20 years, you don't own it. And if the company goes out of business, you've just paid them all this money, and you don't really, you're hoping it stays working. But if it hasn't been installed yet, good luck trying to get the money back. If it has been installed and it hasn't been turned on or has been approved, which has happened to so many people in the SunPower, and I imagine it's the same thing with Sunnova, is that there's going to be a lot of people who paid a significant amount of money, and they will end up with zero. And it's pretty brutal. And Sunnova was all over the country. So they have basically installs all over the place. And, they owe a lot more than they have on hand and how much they're going to be bringing in. So it's going to be pretty brutal because, like I said, pretty much their entire chain, they stopped paying. And I don't really know what the plan was, but if you're not bringing in revenue, then you can't really pay people. So you can borrow, and lots of companies are borrowing at, interest rates at, 10% and things like that. And eventually I guess it just catches up. And, it's kind of what can you do, if you're in this situation? Obviously, do some research. If somebody knocks on the door, there's probably, this is just the beginning, but so many times I'm reading online, especially on Reddit, that, people are ready to invest. I had one person tell me they had a lease payment for 27 panels and 2 power walls for $310 a month forever. And I said, forever? How does that work? I said, well, there's no finish line to the lease. And they said, no, it's just $310 forever. And I said, is there an escalator? Does it go up 3% every year? And they said, I don't know. And I said, but you're ready to sign that. And well, no, that's why I'm reaching out to you.
Oh,
well, yeah, we don't do that. Yeah, we would never do that. $310 forever and ever is, I don't even know how that works. I don't even know that it's legal, or, how is that?
it's
Anyway,
a
that was,
timeshare, Jamie. That's what it is. It's a timeshare in their house. Oh boy.
or it's like PG&E. I guess it's really similar, is that you have a
Hmm.
payment that goes on forever and ever, and you never know what it's going to be. And you're hoping it's not more than, what you can afford, but it's very similar. I guess it just goes forever. And this person was ready to sign that. Wow, that's something. All right. Not
Wow.
something I would recommend, and but you feel free if you want to. But wow, this is it's a big issue. So obviously, if you haven't gone solar yet, or someone is about to go solar, make sure they're not going with Sunnova or Sunrun. No, SunPower. Sorry, Sunrun. They might want to check into, because their earnings came out as well, and they're in big trouble. Not quite on the bankruptcy side, but not really flourishing either. I think their stock is down 79% over the last year, something crazy like that. But
Mm.
it's ouch, 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 and ouch. So still tough time in solar apparently, but our company, we're doing quite well. We have lots of solar projects. One thing that we're working on is with quite a few nonprofits, and we talked about it, I think, when it came out, but the Inflation Reduction Act, which is kind of on the chopping block, but hopefully not. One of the big provisions in there is, if you're a government or a nonprofit or tribal land, you generally you don't get a 30% tax credit because you don't pay any taxes. And
Right.
so, but if you're a nonprofit now, you can actually get a 30% rebate when you file your taxes. And that's pretty crazy, because they haven't paid into anything, but the government is essentially paying them 30% to go solar, which is unbelievable. And so the process is pretty not well. It's actually really straightforward. Is that you apply online with the IRS for a registration number, and then you go ahead and you book the solar project. It gets installed, and this works if you finance it, not on leases, but on financing, so a regular loan. And then, or if you just buy it outright, and then you file your income tax, your tax return. So if it was completed in 2025, you file your 2025 return in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you have this registration number, you would actually get back 30% back in actual money, which is like what? It's pretty amazing. So we're having more and more 501(c)(3)s apply and actually get approved. And so it's pretty amazing, because these are churches or Red Cross or Salvation, places that have big buildings that have gigantic electricity bills that now can offset, or museums and things, they can
Mm-hmm.
offset their electricity costs with the Inflation Reduction Act money. And we'll see how that goes, but it's pretty amazing, because obviously that's being looked at by lots of different organizations, and lots of different people in government or outside the government that somehow have control of the government, which is very odd. But yeah. Um, but yeah, the Sunnova one, that's really sad, because there's a lot of people that I've seen their trucks running around here, and I've seen and heard from lots of people that they went with financing through Sunnova, and that was another thing. They would offer their own finance, so you didn't even have to install with them. They would offer financing for
Wow.
for other solar projects. And so sales
Whoa.
guys across the country could get together with an installer, and then now they have a way to finance it. But it's kind of the staggering dealer fees. If you borrow, say $10,000, you're paying 25, 30% on top of that for the loan, which is, I don't know how that's legal, but apparently it is in solar. It's, I guess, considered a personal loan. And then they put a lien on the property through just the equipment, not on the home. But if there's a lien using the solar lease that they offered, that and the power purchase agreement, then it's pretty rough. But the solar sales guy could get this sold, and now the customer has their system installed, and now they're paying 25 years down the road. So it's yep. One of the big things they were saying in this article I was reading about Sunnova is that because they were doing so much leasing, they would, let's just say they accumulated $1 million worth of leases. Now they have this tax credit, and they can't really use $300,000 of tax credit. So they were trying to bundle it and then sell that tax credit to tax equity companies that would buy it, who do have a big tax liability. But they were trying. It appears that they were not able to do so well in that side, and that a lot of the places that would normally buy tax benefits, tax credits, like Google or millions of other ones that are out there, they were not as so Sunnova was not as easy to deal with, and they weren't able to get it at the terms that they wanted, or at all. And so it's possible that they're sitting on a huge amount of tax liability or tax credits that they could potentially sell, and maybe that gets them out of bankruptcy. So I don't know. It's going to be weird, but they're in big trouble, and anyone who's kind of with them are also in big trouble. And in 2024, had a lot of big ones: ADT, Titan Solar, SunPower, and Lumio all went out of business, and that's I'd say probably a third to half of all the solar in the United States. So,
and those customers, I mean, it's not like their systems get transferred over to somebody else. It's just like, do they still pay the lease payments?
They do, and so each one of these is different.
Okay.
In the SunPower one, we've been kind of following closely because we do get calls from people who have SunPower. And there's another company called SunStrong that is kind of taking over that part of it. And I have heard that you had to go through SunStrong in order to get any kind of service or any kind of issue, but they were not prepared for how many issues there are, and so people are kind of backed up a couple of years before their system gets serviced, if at all. So they're working on seeing if they can just hire somebody else to do it. And not use SunStrong. But yeah, it's whenever a company is promising 25 years of service, like all these companies were, and then they go out of business, there's not really a backup plan. And so that's it makes it real rough on those people. And so we encourage people to stay local and maybe not put price as their number one criteria for selecting a solar project. Looking at the strength of the installer, their reputation, are you owning it or are they owning it, and so forth. But there's plenty to look at all the way around. But yeah, it's pretty interesting all the time.
Wow. And yeah, I'm sorry if that's you. Thanks for listening to the podcast.
I am sorry if that's you too. We do get so many people. I've been asked to present at this big real estate meeting here in town, and I'm going to be talking in front of a lot of angry real estate people about leases and power purchase agreements, and all the fun that goes along with that. So, do you want to do that for me, Adam, instead?
No, no way.
All right. Well,
can you just give them this podcast?
I think I might. Well, that's all. It's going to be a big graphic, and then I need to do like a cardboard cutout because I think I'm gonna have to be ducking some apples. I think because it's not me. We didn't done it, but
maybe
you could frustration with that for sure.
Maybe you could rent a little those Korean restaurant robots.
Just
go beep, 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 but just put your head on it.
I need my head for a lot of things, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'll report back next week on that.
Okay, good luck. We will wrap it up there. Thanks for taking another few minutes out of your week to learn about solar. If you have a question for Jamie, you know what to do. You can go to our Facebook page, Straight Talk Solarcast, send us a message through there. If you'd like to check out a library of our past episodes, go to solarharmonics.com, click on the podcast link at the top of the page, and you'll be taken to that library. If you would be so kind as to give us a 5-star review right now, do it right now. We totally would love it, and we'd be happy to respond to it. So let us know if you have done that. That'd be great. Until next time, everyone. See you.
That's all for now. Thank you for listening to this episode of Straight Talk Solarcast with solar expert Jamie Duran. Join us each week for more answers to your solar questions. Speaking of questions, got some? Email us at solarcast@solarharmonics.com and we'll be sure to give you an answer in an upcoming episode. This episode of Straight Talk Solarcast is brought to you by Solar Harmonics, the leading solar energy developer in Northern California, who invite you to own your energy. Visit them on the web at www.solarharmonics.com.